Hey guys, welcome back to the Profit Madness channel. So let's get straight into the charts. But before I do, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. So yeah, guys, I give you the heads up once again. I kid you not. Go and watch these videos. And if you haven't already, this is a very good reason to subscribe now, because you've been getting video after video, breakdown after breakdown. I literally uncovered the entirety of this entire move, guys, on the videos. Before this pattern became an actual thing, before the breakout has happened, you guys have had the heads up about it throughout this entire video. So make sure to subscribe because you don't want to miss any of this. Okay, so let's start with the USDT dominance chart. So here, because I use my system, which is the trendline channel method, okay, which if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you go to playlist, okay, and you go to mentorship 2025, and then you are able to learn some of the strategies and in some content that I've made available. You don't learn everything, but it's enough to get you started. If you guys then want to proceed and learn more about my strategy, see my portfolio, the altcoins that I hold, and everything that I'm doing, the private trades that you guys are not seeing, then you gotta join the Discord right here. You also find the link in the description. If you guys want to see my portfolio, my coins, how much I've invested in each coin, my entry prices, and you want to get all of my trades and exit signals, then check out the link down below. You can subscribe to our premium group. This is going to be the best deal that you can get right now. The prices will go up very soon. We want to lock in as many people as possible before the old season starts, because once the old season starts, guys, it will be too late and it will be time to sell, not to buy. So make sure to join Profit Magnets as soon as possible. Get in, secure your spot, and make this your life-changing cycle. So going back to the USDT dominance chart, what do we see? Trending channel, we broke below it, and it said that it will break. So I gave you guys this projection. Okay, now that the projection has occurred, right? What do we want to see next? We want to see at some point, where it happens now that we have taken out these lows right here, as we wanted to see. Okay, now that you have taken out this low right here, this one as well, and of course this one right here, what we want to see at some point, it could be from here, could be from a little bit lower, it doesn't really matter. We want to see a push back up, ideally into the trendline channel, where what we want to see is the rejection and confirmation that this trend has actually turned into a resistance. If we see that, okay, if we see that that is your confirmation to long even more, okay, into the coins that you guys are looking at, whether it be Bitcoin or anything else, okay? But you don't want to long, okay, you don't want to chance longs, and of course I'm depicting shorts here because this is the USD dominant chart, okay? So it's inversely correlated if you don't know. But what you want to do here is not look for the bottom of this move on crypto while it's happening. Instead, what you want to do here is wait for the market to confirm it. Okay, you want to see the USD dominance chart have this move back up, reject and confirm resistance on the trend line, and as it starts to move down, okay, this is where you want to make your trade. Okay, you could have a tight stop loss, and bam, this will be your trade. Of course, when you're talking about crypto, we are looking for longs in this situation. Okay, so of course that is something that you must take into consideration. It will look something like this, which right now I'm not able to do. I'm not able to flip the chart, but you guys know what I mean. Okay, on something like Bitcoin, it could potentially be the retest of this trend from which we broken from. Okay, we'll cover that in a second here. It could be a pullback like this, and then you want to long once again, but you don't long during the move to the downside. You long after the bottom of this move has been formed, and while the market is starting to push back up once again, that's where you enter your long. You have a tight stop loss, and then you can enjoy the ride to the upside. Okay, so USD dominance chart, this is what you gotta watch out for. Okay, these are your levels for tomorrow. I'm gonna be updating them right now simply because I don't think that we will close back above or within this trend line today. I think that that is not gonna happen. Okay, but from tomorrow, this is going to be your level of resistance, 7.96%. Now, if you break that, okay, and you flip this level back as a support, then yeah, you're looking at 8.32.5% as your next level of resistance, okay? But that is assuming that we are gonna get into that situation, okay? Which at this moment I don't think that it's likely, but the market can do whatever, okay? So this will be your levels of resistance, but at this moment, focus on 7.96 and 6. Of course, if this takes longer, then we will update in real time the level of support and resistance, which is something that is so beneficial with the strategy, because you don't have to find the perfect level from which price has to go to before it sees a rejection. You just go, and with time you get closer and closer to the perfect level. That's how we've been able to call tops and bottoms of this range right here and of the overall moves. So this is how it works. The next level of support on the USD dominance chart, now that we have broken below this trendline channel, you guys are already seeing the effects of it. I mean, today Bitcoin alone is up 7%, right? We are expecting to see a decent pullback down the USD dominance chart, aka a significant pump in the market. We're looking at 6.73 to 6.64% as your very first level of support, give or take. Now, if you lose that, then of course we're looking at a little bit lower, but I'll take things one step at a time, and this is the current level that I'm giving you guys for now. Of course, like I said, if we will break that, then we're looking a little bit lower, but let me just focus on one level at a time. Total 3 minus Solana BNB, guys. I gave you the heads up. I said that this trend line right here was going to act as a support, and this is currently what you're seeing this week. We are looking for a wipe of this highs, honestly speaking. This is kind of what I'm looking for. The relative equal highs right here, they have a lot of stop losses that need to be taken out. So, pushing up to this level will basically imply that we make a new all-time high. There is another way of reading this chart, which will be at least something like this, where, let me actually make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it, where we may potentially have this sort of a situation as well, where we have a retrace into the bearish golden pocket, but we don't really get anywhere near the all-time high. We got pretty close up into this area, but we don't really go any further than that. Yes, that is definitely a possibility, but okay, I'm not really considering that at this moment, considering how far of a retrace we've had into this bullish Fibonacci. I think that this Fibonacci, because it has yet to expand, I think that we could see a decent pushback up at this time. It could even be something more like this, to be completely honest. And from there, potentially, we have the risk of pushing down one more time, hitting a bunch of levels of support before actually going for the kill. Yeah, that is definitely a possibility, guys, okay? So, but at this moment, I think that it just makes a lot more sense, especially, guys, if we can take out some, this trend right here and flip it as a support. I think that we have a pretty decent roadmap to the upside, at least until we get into this trend line right here, in my opinion, which is also missing the third touch. It's pretty close to the relative equal highs. There's also another trend line right here that I've highlighted in red that is missing the third touch. So, we do have a bunch of confidence up here that we must take into consideration, but, this is getting into my targets at the end of the day. It's not like we are going to be stopping somewhere around here. I'm looking more at all-time high or close to all-time highs at least, okay? So this will be my area where I could potentially see some significant resistance start to step into this particular chart, which is the total 3 minus Solana BNB. Moving on, the total 2. So I gave you guys this trend right here, and I said in the previous videos that this was the level, the trend line, it was going to determine a breakout. Okay, and I said in the previous videos that this is one of the situations that, because we are so close to this trend line, because we have already retested it a bunch of times, that this trend is becoming weaker and weaker. So it's happening exactly what I thought it would happen, which was that we were going to break above. Of course, now we are just started with this move to the upside, and we are slightly above this particular trend line. Yes, the next level of resistance is at 101 to 103. Okay, we haven't retested this level since what is that, beginning of February. So it could potentially create a little bit of a resistance. But don't forget that at the end of the day, okay, a Bitcoin may potentially see a pullback as well. We have just seen the USD dominance chart where we want to see a pullback at some point, right? So if the 222 were to see this push to the upside and then have a pullback into this trend line or slightly lower, I think that that is completely reasonable, and that does not remove the fact that we have pretty much ourselves into a situation where besides this trend line, honestly speaking, there isn't really that much more that is left at this moment. So I think that we are going to be seeing a decent break to the upside this time around, but just know that we are requiring to see some significant breakouts at this moment. Okay, I think that we will go higher. That's been my base case for some time now. And if you guys have been watching the videos, you guys know what I'm talking about, especially if you guys are in premium. Total, I gave you guys this pattern. We're breaking out. Happy days. So again, same thing that I wanted to see across the other charts. Okay, I want to see the breakout, which is currently happening. We can go a little bit higher for sure, but afterwards, I want to see a pullback down, guys. This is the projection that I drew. Expansion after the W formation has been created, then have a retrace, and then a pushback up. It's simple market structure, guys. You cannot get it any simpler than that. So once we get that, okay, we get the retest, I want to see an expansion up into the 2.9s, $2.9 trillion on the total one chart. And by the way, this is the contrarian layout. Okay, if you're new into this channel, I have a bunch of layouts that I show you guys my analysis on. Total 2, once again, we've broken above $976 billion. This is the same exact level, right? Or close to being. Hold on, let me check. 976, 978. It's pretty much almost the same level, okay? Where I was expecting to see a breakout to happen from. Yes, it was identified also as a potential point of resistance, but I've seen this level being tested quite a few times, so I knew that we were likely going to break above quite easily. Your very first level of resistance, guys, is at 103, which is, guys, the same thing that I said on this other chart. So you have confluence at $103 trillion at this moment in time for potential resistance. So what does that tell you? Well, that tells you that from a daily time frame, okay, what could potentially happen here on the 222 is that because we have now created this pattern, we are seeing a breakout, yeah, but the breakout will potentially have you guys retest the current level that we are currently breaking from before we see the continuation to the upside. That could definitely be the case at this moment. Okay, so moving on, we got a total 3, which is pretty much a very similar chart. To be honest, this has a little bit more leeway to go, so the charts are going to go higher before we see this sort of a pullback that I'm expecting. Here, we are getting the same exact structure, okay, W formation. This is what we call it. We want to see an expansion. So ideally, to be honest, I want us to take out this trend line quite easily. We want to break above significantly and then have a retrace before we actually go into $858 billion, which is my area, because it's from 858 to 920 billion. That is my area of resistance next. I want to see this sort of a pattern and continuation formation being made in the charts. Moving on, we got the orders chart. So the orders chart, another bullish chart nonetheless. Your very first level of resistance, guys, is at 215 billion up to potentially 220 billion dollars. Okay, so this is going to be our next level of resistance. You guys can see that we have some upside available at this moment. There is much more to go. Moving on to this Bitcoin chart right here. I don't usually cover this chart because it's very minimal in terms of what I have on the chart. I'll show you guys a more detailed version in a second. But the reason why I'm showing you guys this chart is because there is a trend line right here that is pointing to potential resistance at $77,781 in this particular week. Our first level of resistance that we must pay attention to is definitely 73.7 up to 74.4. This is an area where initially I wanted to see a reaction from, but we didn't get it. The reason why I wanted to see a reaction from it is because, before this drop to the downside, okay, this was a level which, as you guys can see, well, never mind. But we pretty much have a gap, okay? Here, the reason why I'm saying that we have a gap is because, yes, we do have a full candle that goes through this area. But if you remove that, okay, there hasn't been any transaction that we made for a little bit of time in this area. There just hasn't been, okay? And because there hasn't been that, the market had to go and balance itself out. And the way that it did is because of this candle right here is what caused it. This candle only offered price to be traded by pretty much buyers on the weekly time frame. What the market then did is fill this gap, but let sellers dominate it. Now, what could potentially happen here, just so you guys know, is that we could potentially push up to 77.7 and then spend some time consolidating into this region. As we said, we want to see a pullback at some point, right? This could be the way that we get to that pullback. We could also potentially have a little bit of a retrace that is a little bit steeper than that, but it shouldn't come as a surprise, because if you go on the daily, right, what do you see? You guys see a W formation, you see some structure, some consolidation, but on the weekly time frame, guys, you don't have that. Okay, so it is completely normal if price wants to do it, for us to get a little bit more of a formation here, while all coins ideally outperform, in my opinion. Okay, you want to see that, because if you don't get it, what then could potentially happen is that we get up into the 80s, okay, but then we will most likely sell off significantly and aggressively. That could create this sort of a situation where this next piece of price action isn't necessarily guaranteed. We could even potentially go and do something like this. To be completely honest, we don't know just yet, but the more time at this moment Bitcoin spends forming an actual formation, the better it is, honestly, because this is what's going to act as a support upon any sort of a pullback. If you were to push up right now aggressively, guys, it's not going to be looking good, because, well, there's multiple formations here. The first one is definitely the head and shoulder formation. If you were to see this sort of a push, yeah, it doesn't really look that good, but you can still see how the formation could potentially happen. Another way that you could potentially analyze what is currently happening is by doing this. And formation, double top, first leg to the downside, retrace, second leg to the downside, retrace, third leg to the downside. You guys don't want to see that if your guys are bullish on Bitcoin, which me personally, I am not. Okay, I've been saying in the previous videos, I believe with most of my certainty, I'm speaking about, it's more like a 95% conviction at this point that Bitcoin has stopped for this entire cycle. Okay. And until it bottoms in a bear market bottom, I don't think that it will make a new all-time high. I could potentially be wrong, and even if I were to be wrong, we're talking about a slight new all-time high compared to where we have been. But don't expect to see $200,000 or $300,000 in this cycle, in my opinion. If I'm wrong, guys, so be it. Happy days. That's on you. I'm not a Bitcoin holder at this moment. What I think is important here to understand is get some structure first on Bitcoin, and then you can speak about higher targets. If you push up right away, guys, yeah, it's gonna feel exciting, but with the same quickness as it can pump to the upside in that sort of a scenario, the same quickness it can also dump. Okay, so you don't want to see that. You want to see proper continuation to the upside. Moving on, guys, we got Solana. So Solana, I gave you guys a long. I've been giving you guys a bunch of longs on Involio, which if you haven't already, make sure to go and follow me on Involio at Alex Trades. Okay, there is also a link down below in the description if you have to subscribe. And sorry, if you have to join us on Uvolio. It's completely free. It is a social media for traders, okay, and investors, of course. Um, and yeah, you can mimic my trades. You can do whatever. So at this moment, I gave you guys this long on Solana from pretty much this lower year. Perfect long so far. My target is $122. You guys can see the structure here, and that is what Bitcoin is lacking on the weekly time frame. Now, of course, granted that even on Solana, right, on the weekly, we don't really have much structure. That's why I'm saying on that USDT dominance chart, guys, you can expect to see a pullback, but the pullback, guys, will of course build more structure, which is what you want to see. Okay. So again, that's kind of the situation at this moment. Moving on to Bitcoin. So we broke above this trend line. Even if you were to squeeze it a little bit lower, what I see potentially is a situation where we could potentially get a retest anywhere between yeah 69.9 to potentially even 68.2. Um, and that is of course if it happens tomorrow. Okay, the longer the time goes without a retest, the lower the targets go. But getting a retest, in my opinion, is definitely beneficial, especially if we happen to go to this level of resistance and then we pull back. I think that is what's going to give us enough strength to go a little bit higher. um, so yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking here. Moving on, Bitcoin dominance, guys. I've been warning about us getting back into this trend line, and this is exactly what I want to see. The reason why I want to see this happening is because getting the rejection of this trend line for the third touch is what's going to, in my opinion, fuel the breakdown of the Bitcoin dominance and allow these altcoins to outperform over the course of this next couple of months. Okay. So this is how we could get a mini alt season. So the size of this alt season is something that truly depends, in my opinion, on how long it takes for us to significantly move in price with these altcoins up until mid-April to May, to be completely honest. From there onwards, we will reassess based on the information that we're being able to collect during that time period. So yeah, it really depends on how quickly these altcoins jump. It could be a mini alt season before we see another correction, and we then potentially go for something more meaningful in Q4. That's definitely a possibility. Or, you know, we happen to get a major catalyst that catapults these altcoins significantly higher in a very short amount of time, and from there onwards, of course, we have to reassess. Anything is possible, guys. Don't get it twisted. A lot of people have lost their hopes into crypto as a whole, and especially altcoins. So it wouldn't really surprise me if we were to do something significant to the upside in a very short amount of time. That generally will not surprise me whatsoever at this moment. So Ethereum level of resistance. Well, I think that this is more of a breakout level, to be honest, more than level of resistance. We are looking at 2,194. After that, we're looking at 2,500. Okay, I think that we will break out of this level pretty easily. The very first level of resistance, in my opinion, is going to be 2,500. It's also psychological level, so we could potentially face some hurdles around that level. Could be something like this. What is happening? You guys can see the W formation also here. Push back up, retest this level before we actually go into the 3,000s. If not, a little bit more. Of course, I'm looking for new all-time highs, but this all depends on how long it takes for us to see this move to the upside. Okay. Technically speaking, it should be looking pretty good for Ethereum very soon. That's kind of my opinion, based on the charts that I'm seeing. I think that the total 2 gives us a better representation of how Ethereum could potentially have some outperformance compared to coins like XRP and Solana, in my opinion, that have already pumped, and even coins like BNB. Okay, some could potentially even be exceptions. I'm not entirely sure about that, but it's mostly going to be by all coins that haven't really performed so far, in my opinion. That's kind of where I'm placing my bets. Okay. Last but not least, total 3 minus Solana, BNB, XRP, USDT, and USDC. So this was the level that I wanted to see a breakup from. It's currently happening. The very first level of resistance, okay? Yeah, of course, we got $238 billion, but I'm thinking that we can break out of this entire region. And your very first level of resistance, if you want to play conservative, okay, I would be looking at 260 billion. But if we can get an extra squeeze, of course, it's not that big of a difference, but I will be looking at $264 billion, okay? This sort of a push into these levels. Now, if we can break above all of this, okay, guys, you're breaking out of a significant level of resistance, okay? Break above these trend lines, hold them as a support upon a retrace, and we are going significantly higher with the altcoins. Okay, that's what you want to see. That's what determines if we see a big gold season or not over the course of the next couple of months. Okay, I didn't say the entire year. I said next couple of months. With that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's update. I'll see you guys later in